What's going on, everyone? I'm back again. So today I want to talk about how much money does it take to get 2.2 million to be wealthy, or how to have 2.2 million in investment, and how long will it take. So today everyone's saying a million's not enough, and it's probably going to take about 2.2 million to equal out the same as 1 million. So instead of going over how much 1 million is, I'm going to go over how to get 2.2 million or increase your wealth. So in hindsight, if you have $50,000 a year, or you make $50,000 a year, and you want to live off of 50,000, you need to save about 1.25 million, and that's using the 4% rule. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm not your financial advisor. So before you consider using this plan or really using these numbers, please go talk to a financial advisor. Now, with the market volatility and saving as your goal, 1 million is a good goal, but you can find that on YouTube pretty easily. So I want to go over, hey, how much to save 2.2 million. That will give you about, with the 4% rule, about almost 100,000 or $100,000 if you use the 4% rule. So we're going to calculate the wealth, of course, for the 10 year, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and 50 years. And keep in mind, this is your net worth. It's defined as total assets you own or cash you got in the bank account, investment, retirement accounts, as well as value in any real estate. So if you minus that to the debt you own, you should hit, and minus that and debt you own, that includes debt, including student loans, credit card, and mortgage, etc. So this is about 2.2 million in a portfolio. And before you really think about what we're going to do, is we're going to take the consideration of the average return a year for adjusted for inflation at 7%. Now, yes, I know the average stock market return in historical is 10% annual before inflation, but I'm going to use the worst case scenario, and that is 7%, so that we don't have an issue with overestimation. I'd rather do an underestimation than an overestimation. So here's how much money you need to invest. So if you invest $12,861.61 each month for 10 years, you'll reach your $2.2 million. Now, is that doable? Yes, if you have a very high income. And the issue with that, and the reason why I'm doing a 10 years like this, is because people are waiting to invest. And this is for someone that's in their 60s trying to invest 2.2 million for the retirement at 70, or someone in 54 years old trying to retire at 64-year-old, wanting $100,000 to use in retirement with the 4% rule. Now, there's other factors that can play in part, but that is the numbers that I ran, and that you'll get to 2.2 million. Now, let's talk about 20 years. That seems more reasonable. So 20 years is someone in their 40s that is trying to get to retirement and wants to retire with trying to make 100,000 a year in retirement. And that will take about 4.334.66 each month. So $4,334.66. So if you want to retire at 64, you need to start saving at 44 years old and invest $4,334.66 each month. Now, I don't know about you, that still sounds very unreasonable. And this is where I say, hey, compounding interest matters. Now, let's take that you're 34 years old now. Now this is way more reasonable to invest $1,881.22. Amazing. That's the power of compound interest right there. $1,881 if you are 34 and trying to retire at 64. That's 30 years of work history. You each month, that's more reasonable. Now, let's say you're 24 and you have 40 years to retire. Now, how much do you need to invest? You only need to invest $890.13 to reach your $2.2 million goal. Now, is this feasible at that age? At 24, for me, it was reasonable, but I had to do some sacrifices. And now, that's not the best way to do it. You can get a side hustle, you can do whatever you can, but if you can get that $890 a month into a retirement account with an average 7% return, I'm not even saying that the average will get you there, because that's below stock market average. This is just the average yearly return after adjusted for inflation, because the average stock market return is 10%. If inflation is 3% a year, that will give you your 10%. So, reality, you will be able to be just fine with $500 to get to that 2.2 million. But I'm trying to adjust it for money inflation, and that's why I'm doing the 7%. So it'll feel like you have that 2.2 million. The value should be higher, but hey, we are trying to do the 7% average, and I know there's going to be some people mad that I'm not doing 10%, but on history with the earnings of 7% is what we're trying to do. Now, let's say you have 50 years. Now, 50 years, we're going to have to put off retirement till, let's say, 70. So if you take that, let's say you start investing in your 20s, you only need to invest $437.12 to get $2.2 million in 50 years of investment. Yes, these numbers sounds amazingly hard whenever you wait till later years. This is why I tell everyone, hey, you need to start investing early. And how can you do that? How can you invest early? How can you do anything like that? So my calculations, it's good and bad news to people. Depending on how much time you have in the market, depending how much money you have invested, these numbers all changes. Now, these are people with $0 in investment. So how would I start getting invested? You can start investing in all these apps with fractional share. You don't need to buy a whole stock. You can start investing with $1. You know what? I know the Robinhood app and the Acorn app aren't the best investment apps, but you know what? That's a start. It's better to start than not do anything at all. I have videos of me saying, hey, how you can make extra side income. You making extra $500 a month off of side income will cover you at the age of 18. So if that will cover you at the age of 18, that will help you to retire if you do 50 years. If you do 50 years, that's 68 years old. And with just a side hustle and making extra $500 a month, selling stuff on eBay and throw it right into investment, guess what? You can retire with comfort. Now, not everyone is going to think of this as a great idea, but I was just wanted to show you of the power of compound interest. Now, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to, but this is the power of compound interest. And if you want to retire early, you have to invest more money. And these numbers are the reality of compound interest. Now, you can get a better return than 7%. But these are the numbers that are moderate and we're not and attainable. This isn't saying, hey, you can't make 13% on the market. This is not saying you can't get 20% return on the market. But this is attainable year over year and over the course of 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and 50 years. Please like and subscribe to my video. These are realistic numbers that will get you your $2.2 million.